Thank you, Jim, and thank you for that introduction, and thank you for coming tonight, but more importantly for joining in the process. We couldn't, as they say, have done it without you. I think I should start by sort of responding in kind to Jim's comments about how we got here. For us, this is a continuation of a long-held process. In fact, I've seen one or two familiar faces in the room. Many of you have attended over the last 5 years dinners that myself and Anna Ford, who you'll be meeting again later, who chairs our Corporate Responsibility Committee, hold at Sainsbury's, 5 a year. I'll come back to why it's 5 in a moment, where we've, subject by subject, challenged ourselves and allowed you or people like you to challenge us and whether we're setting the bar high enough. So it seemed to us a logical extension of that process to get a rather larger number together to present us with that challenge, and that's why Alex was so enthusiastic in her response and why we were very happy to be, if you like, the guinea pig. We think there is a benefit in being first. But I should say that difficult though it is that I find to use the word crowdsourcing, that to me is quite a challenging word. Retail businesses by their very nature are crowdsourced. We have 22 million customers a week. They vote with a very powerful vote, the vote they make with their wallet. It is by far the most democratic vote that we have in this country. And that guides us in every decision that we make. But we're talking about issues and decisions tonight that, to some extent, are ahead of where consumers' current thinking is. So it's really important that we get ahead of them so that we can help them on the journey. But this has always been our approach. You heard I joined the business 8 years or so ago. It's a business that was facing some significant challenges at that time. And one of the first things that we did was we wrote to 1 million of our customers from the database that we had. A fairly simple 4-page form, a little simpler perhaps than the one you were asked to fill out. And we asked our customers to tell us where it was we were going wrong. An amazing thing happened. 250,000 of our customers wrote back. There was no incentive, or it was a free prize draw, I think, for 10 televisions, but there was no incentive other than they wanted to be part of making Sainsbury's a better business. And I hope tonight, whether you're the crowd, you're a colleague, or a competitor even, that that's your motive for being here. You want to be part of making our business a better business. And that reply that we got from 250,000 customers created the business plan for the turnaround of Sainsbury's. It's what we called Making Sainsbury's Great Again. Our customers and colleagues told us that there was a time when Sainsbury's was a truly great business, that they were proud to work for, that they were proud to shop in, and that they no longer felt that back in 2004. So they laid out in very clear terms what it was we had to do to make them proud again in being a great business. How do we know we've done that well? Well, it's those 30 quarters of consecutive sales growth, the vote that our customers place week in, week out with their hard-earned money consistently over 8 years tells us, on balance, we must be getting more things right than wrong. Doesn't mean we're getting everything right by any stretch of the imagination. There's always more that we can do. But that's the vote that's telling us we're getting it right for them. Now, at the core of that turnaround plan, we placed values. It's a passionately held belief for me, personally, that businesses that are values-driven, in the long run, will be more successful. They will make better decisions, decisions that are better connected to their colleagues and customers, which are the core of the business. And we placed values that were relevant to our business story at the core of our business turnaround. There are 5 of them, back to those 5 dinners that we hold each year, one on each of those 5 values. And they tell the story of our business. You'll be familiar with them, because the pack that you got included our 2020 commitments, to which I'll return in a moment, and they're split under each of those 5 headings. Let me tell you our business journey. It starts with our first value, best for food and health. We are, first and foremost, a grocer. We feed the nation. And we're all familiar with the many challenges that that presents in terms of human health, but also animal health. So we have to have a leadership position on best for food and health. We only sell what we buy. We are, as a retailer, just our customer's agent in the purchasing process. There was a time when they would personally have sourced from the producer everything they ate, but that was a very long time ago. Today, they rely on us to fulfill that role for them. So we have to source with integrity. We have to act in the way our customers would believe they would act themselves if they were undertaking those transactions themselves, our second value. And of course, the scale of our business is huge. We make a massive difference when we do things differently, and never more so than on the environment. We consume huge amounts of resource in running our business. So we have to show, in all of its dimensions, our third value, respect for the environment. But our business is not one business. It's 1,000, actually it's 1,100 and counting shops, each and every one part of a community. And everything that we do in Sainsbury's, we think community. We think, how do we make a positive difference in the community of which we're part, our fourth value. And finally, we recognise, particularly those of us at the top of the organisation, that it's not us that day to day is serving customers. Many of you will know that our store support centre is just down the road from here. It's big, bright and shiny, but other than those that walk off the street thinking it's a shop, it's round the corner, for those of you that are not familiar, we don't see too many customers in Holborn. Our colleagues see them in store. And by making Sainsbury's a great place to work, our fifth value, we can be much more confident that our colleagues will serve our customers the way our customers would expect. So each of those five values, they're led by a board director. We have, as I've mentioned, a formal corporate responsibility committee. It carries the same status in our business as does the audit committee and the REMCO. I believe we were the first FTSE 100 to give it that status, and Anna has chaired it brilliantly over the last 5 years. Each also led, as I said, by an operating board director, one of them here tonight, Neil Sachdev, who leads on the environment. A great choice because a big part of what Neil does is invest in our stores, and of course that's where a lot of our environmental footprint lies. Also a great choice because he's a closet beekeeper, so it's a subject that's close to his heart, and indeed he got me into bees. I have 2 hives myself at home. So last year, 5 years into our journey, we thought we had to kick on, and you're familiar with what that was. It's our 2020 commitments that we launched just a year ago. Indeed, it was part of the reason why Alex wanted a sense of urgency around this event. We wanted to get feedback to celebrate our first year, which comes up in a month's time, of making those commitments. Now, why are those commitments 2020 commitments? Well, there is an important and not trivial point, by the way. By giving it a simple, straightforward title, makes it much easier to communicate to our colleagues and customers. We'll perhaps return to that. I know that you commented on that a lot in the survey. But it was also important to have a length of time, 8 years, that was far enough out that actually, in truth, we couldn't know how we were going to get there. We could have really genuinely stretching targets that we are not yet on the trajectory to achieve, but close enough that we couldn't pretend that it wasn't racing towards us. That's the problem, in truth, I have with commitments that are for 20, 30, 40 and 50. You can always put it off till tomorrow. A 2020 commitment, actually, you've really got to get on with now, because tomorrow is going to come round very quickly. So that's why we chose that timeline. And it was embedded in a simple idea, one that the IGD talked very explicitly about 5 years ago, the idea that consumers are now demanding value for their values. They don't just believe that they're going to choose where they shop, indeed where they spend their money more generally, on the basis of perhaps what I would have viewed at the start of my career as the traditional components of value for money. Values are an important part of that, and differentiating your business and values is therefore, I believe, by definition, a winning strategy. What our customers have told us is that they expect us to ask on their behalf the decisions they would like to have asked. Back to us being their purchasing agents, if you like. And perhaps there's a brackets after that, which is, brackets, if only they knew what those questions were, close brackets, because it's a big, scary, confusing subject, one that for many consumers, the scale and magnitude causes them, for now, to disengage. So they want us to ask those questions. And I should make the point at this point that it is not consumers in particular. There is a lot of conversation on this subject that seems to believe that it's only really consumers that have a lot of money in their pockets or live in North London or in the Westminster Village that are worried about these issues. It's absolutely not true. There is no differentiation between affluence and whether people are concerned about the kind of issues that we're talking about here. In fact, I could point to evidence that perhaps the opposite is true. Look at our support for things like comic and sport relief. It is our stores in the lowest demographics that raise the highest amounts of money for charity. I think that tells us something deep about ourselves, about our society. And in fact, in this economic downturn, we have seen extraordinary increases in the amount of money we've been able, with our colleagues and customers, to raise for comic and sport relief, notwithstanding the pressure that customers clearly find themselves under. So they are more, not less, concerned than they've ever been, and it is all consumers. It's what we call universal appeal. How does that manifest itself in how we approach things? Well, in a very clear way. When we make a commitment, we make it for the whole of our business. Indeed, we've done some quite iconic things along the way. The first ever product that we made with sustainable palm oil was our Basics fish finger, trying to reinforce that point about universal appeal, that all customers were concerned about issues of sustainability. And so when we make commitments now, we make them for the whole of our business. We've made a commitment on animal husbandry and eggs, for example. That's true for Taste the Difference products, for By Sainsbury's, and for Basics, and will remain so. It has to be a commitment to all of our customers. And, by the way, it's not just a commitment for eggs as eggs, it's a commitment in all of the 1,000 or so products that have eggs as an ingredient. A huge undertaking, I'm sure many of you will understand, within our supply chain. So, where's the money? Where's the business case? Now, I should say that, on the whole, there are very robust business cases. I never really understand the question around the whole area of corporate responsibility and sustainability as to why there's somehow some conflict between a business case and doing things in a sustainable and responsible way. Some have very clear and straightforward business cases that any business could address and recognise. For example, investments in energy saving and productivity are pretty straightforward, and indeed we take those kind of investments through our investment process just like we would any other capital investment in the business. Other are the subject of a huge body weight of empirical evidence, like, for example, being a great place to work. There's legion evidence. The colleagues that are better engaged, more motivated, understanding what their business is trying to achieve, why it's trying to achieve it, sharing the values of an organisation, deliver better performance. But I should also make the point that it can't only be about business cases. Indeed, business can't only be about business cases. I don't think this is distinct to the issue of sustainability and responsibility. If it was, business would be painting by numbers. And it's not. It's much more complex than that. Indeed, it is the decisions that you take, I believe, that you can't prove are the right decisions to take, that are invariably the ones that mark out your business, give you true competitive advantage. Because in the end, if you only took decisions that were provably the correct ones, everyone else would do too, and we'd punch ourselves to a draw. And that brings me to the issue of the competitive dynamic and competition versus collaboration, although I don't see it that way. I see no mutual exclusivity between them. I should say, absolutely 100% clearly, I believe competition is by far the greater force for dynamic and radical change. Because competitive advantage leads to improved cash and profit flows, which is the primary motivation for change in most organisations. So why would it be, on this issue alone, that competitive advantage would not drive the most dramatic change? So I'm a huge advocate of competition on these issues. It requires actually people like yourselves, as indeed you've done in your response to this survey, to be clear who you do think is doing a great job and who you don't think is doing a great job. Because by holding up by that comparison, which can be shared with customers, you provide a key tool of competitive advantage. because many of you represent organisations that the consumer at large looks to understand the answers to these questions. So competition is a powerful tool for you too. Marking out those that do a great job will bring about real change. But we have to recognise also that collaboration can make a big difference. Sometimes it's a timing issue. If you look at multiple traffic lights, for example, we took a very explicit and specific competitive position on this 7 years ago. Indeed, before the FSA first addressed the subject, bringing multiple traffic lights for the first time to the front of packaging. But slowly but surely, perhaps more emphasis on the slowly in this particular issue, we're seeing a coalition around the idea that GDAs supported with multiple traffic lights must be the way forward. Pretty much every retailer has now recognised that. But there's work still to do, and that work will probably be done through collaboration. And that work is to agree the specifics of where the hurdles need to be set and how this will be presented to customers, because a universal presentation will make it easier for customers to make choices. It may not be known to you, but when you turn round most food packaging in the UK, be it retailer or branded, you'll see a table on the back of GDAs per 100 grams and per serving. Are you familiar with those tables? Are you familiar that that has no legislative force behind it at all? It was entirely created by the industry, ultimately in a collaborative way. So collaboration has a part to play as well. Key for us in collaboration has been the work that we've done with our farmers. I'm not going to steal any of Ben's thunder. He's going to talk about our dairy development group in a moment. It's something that we're very proud of, along with the other 10 development groups that we have. And something that we've sought to do in those groups is to help farmers do something that, on the whole, they're not great at doing either, and that's collaborate. Every farmer in the world believes they're the best farmer in the world. Of course, the truth is, most of them aren't. Maybe their neighbour is doing a better job than them. But actually, it's really difficult to find that out. Through being members of our development groups, we've helped our farmers understand just that. The headline of our dairy development group, which we take great pride in quoting, is that over the 5 years of its existence, we have paid around £30 million more for our milk than would have been the case if we'd paid market prices. And we've specifically incented changes in behaviour amongst our dairy farmers, if you like, as a quid pro quo for that extra payment, around animal and environmental stewardship primarily, although not exclusively. But here's, I think, a much more interesting data point. Just by sharing knowledge and information, our farmers have saved a further £20 million in the productivity of their businesses, some more than others, of course. And it's to drive that mindset that we've launched just this week our £1 million investment, well, grants, for want of a better way of describing it, made available to members of our development groups and to academic institutions. They'll be able to bid for it over the next couple of months, specifically to focus on how we drive further change within agricultural supply chains. Because back to that 8-year point that I made, by definition, we don't know all the answers to how that is going to be achieved. There is a gap, by definition. And at a time when, in truth, probably, government investment in understanding how we fill that gap, agricultural research specifically, is being reduced, we've taken responsibility with our development group farmers to try and plug some, if not all, of that gap. And I'm confident that some of the projects that are funded through this first grant funding round will provide some of the answers to the gap that we know we still have. Most notably, when we're talking about British farming, we've committed to doubling UK sourcing. Some of that will come from the fact that we will grow our business. That's our ambition over the next 8 years. But some of it will have to come from sourcing things in the UK sustainably that are not currently sourced and produced in the UK. And that will require real change. So to conclude, I've only seen today the feedback. We'll take a long time to digest it. I can promise you that we will listen, we'll take it in. I can't promise you we'll do everything, but I'll promise you that there will be things we will do differently as a direct result of this, as has been the case for the dinners that we've held over the last 5 years. Jim told me his headline is that the report says Sainsbury's are a little bit ahead. I'm writing, I think that's what you said. Marginally, it was even worse than that. Now, I can't tell you how much that upsets me. You see, I love sporting metaphors. Manchester City won the league last year on goal difference, but no one's yet so sure whether they're the best team yet. They'll have to win it by 10 or 15 points before those of us that are Manchester United fans will concede that they are, in fact, a better team. Well, I believe that's true in business. It pains me. I don't think it's true, but it pains me because it has to be true, at least for the purposes of this evening, because that's what you believe. And if you believe it, then it must be true. I want you to believe that we're not marginally ahead or a little ahead or a good bit ahead, but loads ahead. And I say that also to the competitors in the room. I'd like you to believe that too, although I realise that's a tougher challenge. Because leading the way is important to us on this issue because it lies at the core of our competitive advantage, core to our relationship with our customers. And key to that is not just the box that is our business, it is our supply chain. Starting with the farmers that produce our food, but all the way through to how our customers use our food in their homes. If you doubt the veracity of that observation, think about the campaign we did a couple of years ago called Love Your Leftovers, where we were proactively encouraging our customers to waste less, to buy more, buy less by definition, because if you're wasting less, you'll buy less. Why did we do that? Why would a business encourage our customers to spend less money in our shops? Because ultimately it was a really clear demonstration that we were living by our values. And through living by our values, we were building trust. And if we build trust, we'll build a stronger, longer-term relationship with our customers, which is truly valuable for us as a business. Many of you will know we've changed our advertising recently. The banner at the bottom of our advertising now is the words "Live well for less." We liked that a lot. We liked it a very lot. We liked it because it felt like a true inheritor of the DNA of our business. The very first shop, no more than 3 miles from here, had over the door, quality perfect, prices lower. For many, many years, Sainsbury's advertising mantra was good food costs less. Today, we articulate that as live well for less. Of course, it works straightforwardly when one's talking about pricing. But the reason we like it is that when we talk to customers, they understand that the words live well are very broad. We all need to live well. And they understand that for less is not just about price. Less impact on the environment. Less damage in the community of which they're part. So live well for less, yes, it's a piece of advertising, but it's also absolutely capturing our values, how we want to run our business, how we want to help our customers live their lives. And I'll finish by thanking you, therefore, for the contribution that you've made to our thinking about how we do indeed help our customers live well for less. Thank you.